Bronny James. Bronny James was drafted 55th overall in the second round of the NBA draft right before July 4th holiday. So I have not reacted to this happening. The fact that, and I saw all the coverage of this, the fact that media tried to defend Bronny James being drafted is the single most pathetic NBA-related coverage that I have seen in some time. Because what it represents is people are afraid of LeBron James, they're afraid of Rich Paul, and they won't point out what is the indisputable truth. This is wrong. Okay? It is nepotism. It is wrong for someone who is not as talented as someone else to get a job because of who their dad or mom is. Now, some people came out and they said, well, this has been going on for a long time. Okay. Just because it's been going on for a long time in other industries doesn't mean it's good for sports to do it as well. To my knowledge, I cannot think of anyone's son ever being drafted that would have otherwise had a 0% chance of being drafted in the history of sports. Sometimes brothers, like Giannis's brother evidently got drafted, although I would point out that I think Giannis's brother is like 6'7" or 6'8" and a pretty good athlete. Bronny James is 6'1", wildly undersized to play the guard position in the NBA by and large. He is not a starter last year on Southern Cal's team. He averaged 4 points a game, and he had a serious heart condition that required him to be hospitalized and threatened his life. I'm glad he's okay. The fact that he got drafted is indefensible by anyone that has a functional brain. Yet I saw all of the usual suspects, the Wojs of the world, for instance, trotting out there and trying to defend this. It's indefensible. Then, as if that were not enough, he got a guaranteed multi-million-dollar contract. Look, LeBron is rich. If LeBron wants to hire his son to work as one of the agent representatives for him, I get it. We've never seen anyone demand that their son, who is otherwise not qualified enough to be a professional athlete, get drafted because of the talents of their dad. It's everything that's wrong with nepotism in general. Now, it is true that sometimes the person who owns the company decides to put their kids to work at the company. Usually, they don't give them one of the biggest jobs at the company off the start. In other words, they don't pay them millions of dollars. Usually that doesn't happen. But if you own the company, one of the benefits of owning the company is that you get to decide who works at the company. Generally speaking, that is not the best way to hire. Usually the best way you should hire is through the meritocracy. The fact that Bronny James is hired at all and that the ESPNs of the world are bending over and pretending this is Ken Griffey and Ken Griffey Sr. is crazy, Jr. and Sr. Ken Griffey Jr. was one of the best baseball players in America. He was way better than his dad. That wasn't fake when they ended up on the same team. This is a fake storyline. Bronny James, if his name was anything other than James, and if his dad was anybody other than LeBron, would not have been drafted this year. Heck, I'm not sure USC would have even given him a scholarship if his last name was Smith and if he hadn't gone to a rich private high school and gotten a ton of attention. Why? Because he's only 6'1". He's not very good. And I say this as a dad of 3 boys. When I sent out a tweet about this, my 13-year-old, just finished 7th grade, came to me and he said, I think you're being too hard on Bronny, Dad. I've got 3 boys. One day, one of them may work at one of my companies. But I'm not going to immediately name him CEO. And I sat down with my 13-year-old and he said, Dad, if you were a pro athlete, I would love to play on the team with you. I said, but I would love that too. That would be an amazing story. But I wouldn't be doing you any favors as a dad by putting you on a team that you hadn't earned a spot on. Everybody would look at you and question you and treat you differently because they would think that I had skipped you ahead of the line if you had Bronny James's talent and you ended up on my team. LeBron knows this. He's played athletics his whole life. LeBron is not doing his son any favors by elevating him to a job that his talents right now don't support. Maybe 3 years from now, Bronny James could turn into an NBA player if he continued to work at college. Maybe not. Giving him a multi-million-dollar contract, demanding that he get drafted, threatening to punish any other team that drafted him, and then pretending that it all is on the up and up is a straight lie. Media should exist to call out lies like these. Instead, by and large, media exists to try to fluff up people in positions of power to even greater heights. That's the reality. I told my son, hey, I'm not going to put you in a position that you haven't earned. Remember, there is somebody who worked his entire life to try to get drafted in the NBA that would have been a signature achievement of that individual's life that didn't get drafted because Bronny James got elevated above him because of who his dad was. It's wrong. It should be called out. It is indefensible, and it's the antithesis of everything the meritocracy should represent and every reason that we love sports, which is the best man or woman wins, not the best man pretending to be a woman, and not the best man whose dad happens to actually be super rich and can pull strings to make it look like he's one of the best players too.